Have you ever wondered if you're doing the right thing? Have you ever wanted to know if you're on the right track? This question plagued my mind constantly during university. Running a 5-year and $50,000 experiment for something that I didn't know was going to work out terrified me. I didn't want to climb up this mountain and get to the top of it only to realize that I climbed the wrong mountain to begin with, and then I had to go back down. Like, who wants to be in that position? No one would. The thing is, there are almost no signs of success when you're pursuing long-term goals like a university degree or growing a YouTube channel, for example. They are multi-year long experiments and you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. And if you know anything about experiments, then you know that they fail more often than they succeed. It's a problem that got me thinking. If I could go back in time and grab 18-year-old Josh and tell him what signs he can expect to know that he's on the right path, what would I tell him? So in this video, I'm going to reveal what those signs are so you can have more confidence in what you're doing, and you can also avoid the two most common mistakes people make that absolutely ruin their success. The first mistake is they quit too early and they miss out on all the rewards that they deserve. Their dreams remain dreams and their goals are unachieved. Researchers into the science of motivation has found the fastest way for someone to become demotivated is to feel like their efforts are futile. The second mistake is they keep trying because of sunk cost fallacy. I already put so much time, energy, and resources into this thing, I can't possibly turn back now. This is actually one of the biggest reasons why so many people die on high mountains around the world. They're not able to turn back around when the weather changes or they run out of time. And so the sunk cost fallacy becomes their fatality. But before we can get into the signs to look for to know that you're on the right track, we need to talk about how to measure success. I know that measuring success may seem a little bit boring, but please don't skip this part, because if you can't get this right, then the signs won't reveal themselves to you. So my current goal in the gym is to pack on more muscle. And provided that's my goal, then what should my definition of success be? And what metrics should I be tracking to measure my success? So my definition for success for my bulk is going to be if I weigh 82 kilos by October. And there are only really 3 metrics that I am tracking to know that I am making progress towards my goal. The first is macros. Am I eating my calorie and protein targets most days? The second is my weight. And the third is my strength. So am I becoming stronger in my main lifts in terms of the amount of load that I am lifting or the amount of reps that I can do? These are outcome-based measures of success, and they're really useful for tracking the progress you're making for a fitness goal, because you can tightly control nearly all of the variables that are dependent for your success. That is, your efforts are directly tied to your outcomes. And when you receive the outcomes you wanted after you put your effort in, you receive this neurochemical cocktail of dopamine, serotonin, and testosterone that motivates you even more. You start to build momentum and eventually you become unstoppable. But what about goals where your efforts are not tied to the outcomes? As I have brutally learned, I can study my absolute hardest for a test and still fail. I can put 100 hours into a single video and it can still tank. I can sink 12 years into engineering and becoming an engineer and then decide that engineering isn't for me. And that's not as sad and depressing as it sounds, by the way. For goals that cannot be tightly controlled, we no longer have objective metrics that we can use to track progress and success. So we need a better way in order to define and measure our success. The classic advice you always hear is that you should define your success and measure your success by your efforts, not your outcomes. So I am successful if I prepare well for a test, not if I pass or fail. I am successful if I am proud of a video that I made, not if it gets a lot of views or not. I am successful if I enjoy my time as an engineer, not if I remain an engineer for the rest of my life. Now, these sound great on paper, and I even agree with them to some extent. But if you are anything like me, then hearing this leaves you very dissatisfied. The harsh truth that my mind always comes back to is, if I'm not getting the outcomes that I want, then my efforts do not matter. So the question becomes, How can we measure the success of our efforts based off of the outcomes that we receive, which are still inside of our locus of control? Basically, we still want to optimize for outcomes instead of inputs. And so here are 4 signs to know if you're on the right track. In 2 business books that I have read, the Lean Startup and 0 to 1, the respective authors say that the first thing you should do after you have a good idea is to validate it against the market. In essence, you're trying to determine if there is a demand for the product or service that you're offering before you pour a whole heap of time, energy, and resources into it. Not doing adequate market research and validating your ideas early and fast is one of the big reasons why so many startups fail. Do not be the guy who makes something that no one else wants. And we should have a similar approach to our lives as well. Think about it this way. Even if you are employed, you're not an employee. You're a business who is contracting your own time out to another business. So you get to choose what you bring to the table. This is simple but often understated. Do people want what you are offering? And if the answer is no, then don't pursue that path. Just because you want to and you think it's a good idea, it's not going to cut it. The easiest way to validate the idea is to look for people who have done what you want to do and have achieved success from it. So let's say you're thinking about doing engineering at university. How can you quickly validate that idea? The easiest way is to look for what companies are looking for in their job listings. Use tools like whatsthesalary.com to know what the salary is if it isn't advertised. And then pay close attention to the patterns that you begin to notice. What industries pay the most? What skills are being advertised the most? What are the most common qualifications required? Don't be like most people and only look at jobs when it's time to go find a job. Use the job listing as a way to navigate your way through the market. Go on LinkedIn. Find engineers who are working at the companies that you're researching about and DM them. Ask them questions about their job and treat them like they're an expert of what they do. Not everyone is going to reply, but you're going to be surprised how many actually do. And if you are really lucky, then you might make a great connection. And you might even be able to do some shadow work for a day. Basically, you get to follow an engineer around to get an idea of what they do and what their day is like. Now that would be really valuable information for you to know as someone in their late teens or early 20s thinking about doing engineering. You can validate any degree this way. I should have did a lot more of this when I was 17 to 19 years old. Once validated, you can have more confidence to know that you are moving in the right direction, or you can pivot more quickly rather than running this 5-year and costly experiment. Now let's say that you want to start your own thing on social media. How can you validate that idea as fast as possible? Well, chances are that you got the idea because you saw someone on social media and they inspired you. I had a lot of doubt and uncertainty about what I was trying to do with this YouTube channel until I found Dan Koh. And I still have a lot of doubt and uncertainty, but it is becoming more clearer with every video that I make. Seeing Dan make millions per year as a one-person business by writing about his interests online really opened my eyes up to what was possible. I thought that if Dan could do it, then why can't I? The great thing about social media is that nearly all the information that you require is already there for you to gather and consume. Consume all their free content, and if you can afford it, buy their low ticket item. That way you can see what works well for them and you can reverse engineer their success. If you can find people who have done what you want to do and they achieve success from doing it, then that's a pretty good sign it's a worthwhile path to pursue. And if you think a particular niche is saturated like the health and fitness and there's no more room left for you in there, then question that. Because you may be in an echo chamber and you're just seeing a lot of people doing it. But if you took a step back and got perspective, you may actually realize that there's not that many people actually trying to do it in the big picture. And there are still plenty of small creators doing really well for themselves despite being in a saturated niche. Now, if you want to do something that has never been done before, you're going to need a very different approach. And that is beyond the scope of this video. And look, there is a reason why I spent so much time talking about the market research, because this is the most important sign you can get. If your idea is validated against the market, you can have a lot of confidence that this thing that you're pursuing is a worthwhile goal. And now you need to look for outcome-based metrics to know that you're making progress towards that goal. And from here on out in the video, we're going to assume that you have a meaningful goal in mind. But even if you don't, this is still going to be useful information to know about. There is a concept in the art of impossible that I absolutely love. Impossible with a capital I are goals that have never been done before. Think inventing the internet, flying the first plane, and then designing reusable rockets. Then there are impossible goals with a little I. And these are things that we've never done before. Think about overcoming your social anxiety, or starting that business, or getting into the best shape of your life. Most of us are chasing little I impossible goals, things that other people have done, but we haven't. One of the signs for progress that I trust the most is when I look back on myself from 6 months ago, am I embarrassed by who I was and what I was doing? And the answer is nearly always yes. If you are embarrassed by where you were 6 months ago, it means that you are continually improving and growing. That's a good sign. You're remaining in the Goldilocks zone of experience, where your skill set is perfectly matched with the challenge. Like in a video game, as you improve and get more skillful, you get to fight more challenging bosses. You get faster and more efficient, so you can continually stack more load on. You even begin to remember concepts more easily, like they've just become a part of you. I say this so often because I believe it is super useful. If you're unsure about what project to start in your life, go to the gym. Make improving your body the first project that you do. I can tell you this, improving your body in the gym is not easy because you have to continually put your effort into it, but it is going to be the easiest project that you do in your life. And often that's where you need to start before you can take on these other more scarier challenges. Speaking about fear, you might expect the more that you do things that scare you, the less fear you will experience. But that isn't the case. As Stephen says in The Art of Impossible, for peak performers, fear becomes a directional arrow. Unless the thing in front of them is dire and immediate threat to be avoided, the best of the best will always head in the direction that scares them the most. They don't do it despite the fear. They do it because of the fear. If you are achieving new levels and you're facing new devils, then you can have a lot of confidence that you're on the right path and you're making progress towards your goal. And if you keep doing it, you will eventually pull through, even if you haven't achieved the impossible yet. Optimize for the outcome. In other words, optimize for what you want. Too many people get caught up in working hard and grinding for the sake of working hard and grinding. So they miss the point entirely. The point of working hard is to create the life that you want. And not enough people actually talk about the importance of enjoyment. Why try to work so hard to eventually enjoy your life when you can just do the things you enjoy in the first place? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. But don't get me wrong, it should be hard. And you should feel like you're at your limit. But it shouldn't feel like a grind all the time. Grinding, technically speaking, is a very inefficient, energy-intensive, and high-friction process that's generally avoided unless it is absolutely necessary. The point is, if you're going through that grind cycle on the daily basis, you're on the wrong path, little bro. Don't fall victim to the glorification of the grind. It's an empty life. Don't fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy either. Have your boundaries and walk away when they're compromised. In contrast, a really good sign that you're on the right path and you're making progress is that when you put more effort in, you want to put more effort in. The harder I tried at university, the more I enjoyed my courses. The harder I tried at developing this product at work, the more I enjoyed the process. The harder I try with these ideas, the more I enjoy making them for us. I make them for myself as much as I make them for you. So optimizing for enjoyment is a shortcut for happiness. So you know, in the final battle of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aang is trying to take away Aizo's bending ability. And there's this really epic scene where the two of them are clashing and Aizo's will is almost completely consuming Aang's until there's like this little beam of light coming out of Aang's eye. And you think that all hope is lost until Aang's will just expands and completely dominates Izo's and the battle's over. When you're trying to do the impossible, there needs to be at least a tiny ray of hope that you can believe that you'll pull through. You might wake up every morning with crippling self-doubt about everything that you're doing. The situation might feel dire, and the signs of progress might be hidden in just the excess of failures. And that's the real battle of sharing your ideas on the internet, by the way. A lot of the time I am staring down the barrel of this camera, looking into the black abyss and not really seeing much results come out of it. There has been a little bit of results recently, and I am grateful for that, of course. Yet if you still have some optimism left in you, and there is at least a single ray of hope beaming out, then I think that's a pretty good sign that you'll pull through eventually. As you stack more wins, more rays begin to beam out of you, and you believe in yourself more and more. You even begin to start placing bigger bets on yourself. Like if I went back in time and I grabbed 18-year-old Josh and I pulled him through the portal and stuck him in front of this camera and told him to talk to you guys about how he believes in himself, he wouldn't do it. But I can now. 10 years later, I can tell you that I do believe myself, and I don't think I can lose over the long term. I don't. That said though, you will take losses and your confidence will take a hit. Your self-belief will fluctuate, but as long as you can find those little nuggets of progress, and that's enough to fuel you, then you will be just fine. And that's all for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. Check out my newsletter in the description if you want. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.